So, hi, welcome to the podcast. We're Group C with Global Cinemas, and I am Dylan.
I'm Gavin.
I'm Aisa.
And I'm Ella.
And today we are discussing Bong Joon-ho's 2019 film, Parasite. Now we will be discussing the politics within the film. Gavin and I, both being cinematography majors, we're going to discuss mise-en-scène, composition, and framing. Meanwhile, Anissa and Ella being our screenwriters, they're going to talk about it from a literary perspective. So, let's talk about the first thing that caught our eye.
Would you like to go first, Nathan, or would you?
Yes. Well, actually, the first thing that caught my eye about this film was the title. You see, there was this question throughout the film of who is the real parasite. Is it the Parks? Given they use the Kim's labor to facilitate their entire lifestyle, or is the Kims as they are using the Parks for financial gain and upward mobility in class? And so the main thing about this movie is class stratification and the hopelessness and a possibility of poverty and moving out of it.
I'd actually like to build off of what you're saying. I think what's even more impressive and kind of amazing, something I immediately noticed, is that normally when we see films that talk about this class distribution, we normally see one being put above another in terms of morality. But when we look at the way that the Park family is written, they, in some ways, are gullible. They are very easily manipulated by the Kim family. I think we all can agree on that. But they're also very cruel, which normally in a film that talks about this, we would normally see the Kim family as people who perhaps have just a bit more of a morality stance due to them being so low down. But that's not the case in this film. I think this film is very realistic about how truly desperate people are willing to act, the lengths that they are willing to go and able to get ahead, to truly advance in society. We see cruelty on both sides. We see that people, no doubt in the society, are all after the same thing, the same advancement in the same place in the socioeconomical status.
You know, and it's interesting that you brought up the idea of one person being higher or lower than another, because that goes into one of the biggest things we see visually about this film. Physically, people and things are placed higher and lower depending on which side they are on economically. There's a big divide in this film between the two families, the Kims and the Parks. And the Kims are low in every sense of the word, and the Parks are high. Just right off the bat, a couple things I can rattle off is that the Parks literally live so uphill. Like, every single time we see someone on the way to their house, it's from a low angle as we watch whomever it is getting towards the house going upwards. And the Kims literally live in a sub-basement. They literally, in their window, they have to look up into the outer world. We see other things like whenever they're leaving the house after they've been caught having a party in the Park's home, the Kims have to descend so many flights of stairs going down slopes and hills just to get back to their house. And it is implied to be miles that they are walking down just to actually show how great of a distribution it is between the Kims and the Parks.
And I think another thing that Bong Joon-ho, the director, really puts into frame to kind of further reinforce the idea of parasite, of like what is the parasite in the film. A lot of the coloring between the Park and the Kim family's homes kind of reinforce that idea. So a lot of the green, there's a lot of green lighting in the kind of lower class. That kind of there's a lot of flickering too, like flickering. It creates like this green hue in the basement of the family, and the higher class, it's kind of bathed in this kind of warm gold lighting, and it did make me wonder. And a question for you guys. The kind of green hue that the film creates in the lower class, it makes it look a little moldy and kind of like almost reinforces the title of like Parasite, which would make me go like, oh, okay, it's kind of portraying like the lower class family as being like the parasite of the film. But like, I don't know, which family do you guys think was like more of like represented what the title is? If that makes sense.
If I may lead on this, I think from watching it, from such a simple level, maybe just a first time watcher, someone who merely glances at it, we are led to believe that the Kims are the most parasitical. But when you rewatch it, I think sometimes it's almost equal. Because as I previously stated, they're after the same thing, this money, this driving force that we see in economies like South Korea. We even see it here in America. And both are after the same thing, but in terms of being a parasite, we actually see the true definition of being a parasite, of course, which is the replacement of things, the kind of almost going in and infesting with the Kim family going into the Park family's house. Especially, there's a couple of other moments that I'm pretty sure we'll probably touch on later in this podcast. But I truly believe it is almost equal. It just depends from your own perspective on how you watch it. Lisa?
When I first watched this movie, I would argue, I've always thought that it was both. Like, both of them are in their own ways parasites. As I stated before, the Kims need the Parks for upward mobility. They need the Parks for social advancement and for money. Just they have very low paying jobs before Kiwoo gets in with the Park family, and the Parks, of course, rely completely on the Kims and their other employees for labor. Their entire lives are run by the people that they employ, the food they eat, how they get around, how if their house is clean or not, their clothes, everything that they have is provided by their employees. And so they're both parasites in a way, but I also kind of tussle with this idea of maybe the parasite being almost capital and capitalism itself. Just it is designed to take as much as possible from people, and so we could argue that I could kind of argue that uh the real parasite is capitalism itself, and the host that it's sucking the blood from are both the Parks and the Kims, and every human who is forced to live under this system that requires so much of them and so much to live comfortably or to live in squalor. Either way, you have to give something, though, because both families lose
Yeah.
something. Both families lose family members. So I would argue that they're both hosts. Both these families are hosts.
It's interesting what you said at first, Anissa, about both families being parasitical, because Bong Joon-ho literally describes this film, and this is a direct quote, as coexistence without symbiosis. So I mean, it leads some pretty strong credence to your statement. Like both have this interplay like relationship, and neither are getting what they need out of it. They're both just kind of screwing themselves over until everybody ends up. It's like a scorched earth kind of thing. Like no one survives and no one gained anything. And it's interesting that so far what we've discussed is like it's either both families or the Parks, because the way the film frames it, specifically visually, is that it's the Kims. There's a line where Mrs. Kim remarks that if the Parks were to come back home, then this is when all the Kims are gathered up in the Parks home while they're away on a camping trip, and they're drinking their booze and talking bad about the Parks. She makes a statement that if they were to come back right now, that Mr. Park would scurry away like a cockroach. And sure enough, in the film shortly after that, the Parks do come home unexpectedly, and this forces the Kims to literally hide under a kitchen table, all scrambled together, like cockroaches. So even though, viewing it, taking a step back and viewing it as a whole, it does seem like it could be either or. The film definitely wants you to lean towards the Kims, at least from a visual perspective, because we literally watch the camera with the Parks on the couch. We watch it go downwards, and beneath them is the Kims hiding under the table. So it seems like the film wants us to lean a certain way, but once we take a step back and look at the full picture, it's interesting that we can see it both ways.
I think kind of backing off of that, towards the end of the film, it feels like it kind of this the framing of it kind of shifts from the Kims into the Parks, with kind of the whole like dressing up as the more like Native American Indian tribe and like throwing that big party. All of that kind of feels very like disrespectful, and towards the end of the film, it definitely feels like the shift, especially after the storm and everything that the Kims went through. It feels like the movie tries to derive a bit more sympathy towards the Kims towards the end, um, and kind of talking a bit about that ending. A bit random, but one shot I do want to call out in the film is there's a moment when the creepy man from the basement is about to go outside and stab some people at the party. Um, there's a moment where he's going outside to do it, and he walks past the camera, and you can see the daughter of the Park family about to find the body next to the basement, and the camera's like going towards her, but as soon as the creepy man like walks past the camera, it starts to actually pull out towards him. It's almost like the audience like wants to see what's about to happen over here, but then it's like forcing us to go outside and see like the carnage that's about to be displayed. So I also just wanted to ask you, like, did you have any other like imagery or any specific shots you wanted to like call out in the film, anything like that?
Oh, dude, where do I even start? In the very opening shot of this film, it's the exact same shot at the very end, except for some minor differences. But we literally immediately get a glimpse into the Kim's life. The opening shot is a pair. It's drying laundry in front of their window, right? The one that peers up into the poor district of town, like from their sub basement. And at the end, it's the same. Like they're right back to square one. It's nighttime now. That's really the only difference. And the Kims have gone through this great ordeal, but no, despite their efforts, typically in films we follow a dynamic character or group of characters who have this problem. They go on a journey to solve it, and they come on the other side different. They have made a circle. They are back to square one, and that's oftentimes how it is in real life. And that's something that we touch on a lot in this class of like you're not always going to win, even if you're trying to do something. And not saying that the Kims are 100% morally in the right, but I feel for the majority of the film, that's who we were rooting for, as these were the people that we were introduced to first. But yeah, just the fact that they don't really get a happy ending, and the beginning and closing shots show that.
Well, actually, I like to kind of lead us into what you guys been describing me has really just kind of crystallize the overall message of the film, which is that poverty is impossible to escape. Like we see this and obviously the fact that the Parks make a full circle and honestly come out worse than
yeah.
they were when they started.
One less sister.
Oh.
One less sister and the father on the lam and trapped in a house. So they come out worse than they started. And we also see this. I want to talk about the characters of Gwyn Say and Moon Gwang and how they also reflect this theme. And they're a little bit more, well, specifically Moon Gwang, they're a little bit more on their face sympathetic. Moon Gwang, they also have a lot of similarities to the Kims. So Mr. Kim, the reason they are in extreme poverty as they are now is because he had a bakery and it failed.
Yeah.
And it put them in great financial debt. And that's the exact same thing that happened to Gwyn Say, the husband in the basement. And he took out a lot of loans to loan sharks. And Moon Gwang hides her husband in the Park's basement to prevent him from being killed. And so the both of these families are trying to escape poverty and try and in Moon Wang's case and Gwen Sei's case trying to escape death. But they end up failing. Like, she hides him down there for 4 years, and at the end of the day, not only does she die because of the Kims, but Gwen Sei also dies because of the Kims. Like, these poor families tear each other apart, and at the end of the day, they're both still in poverty and still at the lower rungs. Like, no one has progressed.
You know, I think it's very fascinating that, because I read the script for this, the ending scene is different in the script than it is in the actual film itself. And I actually really want to know y'all's opinion on which one pushes the message more. Because in the script, instead of Ki-woo being back in their basement home, he is instead, it seems, on a mountain, looking through a telescope at the Park's home. He does, of course, have the same illusion, which, good lord, is what an amazing metaphor for the entire film itself. It is truly incredible because, I mean, you have the illusion of escaping poverty, the illusion of everything in this film, and we truly see it put into place when he imagines getting the house and his father coming upstairs. But then in the script, instead of it going, like I said, to the basement, it says instead, cold, windy, the sun is dropping fast. Ki-woo is on the mountain again, looking through the telescope. He puts it down, looks to the distance, and he says, "But I have a problem, Father. I have no idea how to get this letter to you." And then it says, in the rest of it, we see the Park mansion far away, surrounded by countless other mansions. Lights turn off and on across this neighborhood, as if the houses are trying to talk to us. And it says Ki-woo's note is bright red from the cold. His eyes are brimmed with tears. Sharp wind cuts across his breast as soon as it mists in the air, and the wind continues to howl. Now that's, of course, very similar in terms of his facial features and expression and all that to the ending we see in the film itself. But something I'd like to note is that at the end, not something that it reads right after it fades to black, which is that it says music plays. Bright, but with an undertone of hopelessness. And I think that builds off of what we've all been saying about how it returns back to the same state we started with. So much so that it's even noted not just in the film, not just in the dialogue and what we see, but also in what we hear. The music was specifically chosen to make us feel the same hopelessness he does in that moment.
I definitely feel like the filmed ending gets the point across better than the script ending. The script ending almost seems to carry a note of like wistfulness. Like, it's a little too. It carries the same hopelessness, but it's a little too hopeful. But the ending of the filmed ending is very the film language is very clear. They are at the same place that they ended. They're ended at the same place that they started. That's it. They've failed. In fact, they've become worse off. And so I think this gets the theme of poverty is inescapable that Bong Joon-ho was trying to communicate a lot better.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our discussion of 2019's Parasite.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed.
Hope it was interesting.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Perfect.